Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is doing well. In today's video, I am happy to have two guests that have really interesting, excellent content, The Valentine's Show and Chem123. Please check out their contents and subscribe to their channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing the topic about the wall that needs to be built between Dominican Republic and Haiti. First of all, before I start talking about the research that I did, I want to say how I feel about it. So I think that if it is feasible and if it is going to help to decrease illegal immigration completely, I will support building up the wall in Dominican Republic and Haiti. However, the research that I did, and I'm not saying I have the entire truth, there might be other factors that I am not considering currently. But according to the research that I did, there are certain factors, certain aspects that one needs to take into account. Like, for example, the geographical part of it, the physical space in which the border is located, things that people are completely unaware of. Like people are unaware that I read recently one article that was written this year on May 20th, where it was confirmed that actual Haiti was building a wall. I believe it was in Elias Piña province.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that people are unaware of that one needs to consider before we jump into saying that building the wall is the correct solution. I'm not saying that we should accept all of the illegal immigrants from Haiti. There should definitely be control in the border, which is not happening. I don't think that we had a border for many, many years. And, our soldiers, our military defense, our military and defense are not doing their surveillance. In fact, the parts in which people want to build the wall, is not possible to build the wall there, just because um, it's known as the international highway, and these are not the places in which Haitians usually use to cross over to the Dominican Republic. So I will get into more details as we go through the discussion. I am going to be giving everybody chances to express themselves, express the ideas. Please feel comfortable to state all of your ideas and to say however you feel. I am not here to judge anybody, or I'm here to respect everybody's opinions and also to learn from your opinion and from what you know. Okay, so this was my introduction. Now I'm going to give the floor to the Valentine's show to give his opinion.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for having me again on the show. It's a pleasure last time, and it's a pleasure again. My opinion is I'm a very simple man. I look with my eyes and I see what works, and I just go with it. I don't need to like sometimes I don't like things being overcomplicated. Walls have been used from the beginning of time. Walls and barriers, physical barriers, are the primary way of keeping an individual out. An individual, animals, and the things that you don't want in a certain place. You put a physical barrier there, and there is nothing better than a physical barrier to keep people out. Now, the laws are immigration laws are for once those people make it past that physical barrier, which is going to happen. There are people, even if there's a physical wall, you could put it 20 feet up in the sky, 30 feet up in the sky. Human beings are very smart, and they are going to get over or under the wall no matter what. Now, is everybody going to be able to go over that wall or under that wall? The answer is no. And that's what human history has shown, from great examples as the Great Wall of China, from a bad example, but it did work, the Berlin Wall. All those walls have worked. If the Berlin Wall did not work, they would not have torn it down. The reason they torn it down is because it was working, and it was meant to keep people on the inside. So walls do work. On a more personal level, doors, the same thing, just a physical barrier in your apartment, in your home, wherever it's that you have them at, they work. They keep people out. I mean, it's very simple now. There is a totally different issue, which is the logistics of it, the economics of it. Is it feasible for a state to build a wall? I mean, I really don't know. I mean, unless it's a real poor state. But even look, you just telling me that Haiti, I didn't even know that Haiti's building a wall on their side, and Haiti's a poor country. So if Haiti's a poor country, I think it's in the best interest of the state to protect its own people by having a wall where there's a problem. Why there has never been a wall talked about in the northern border of the United States with Canada? Why? Because there's no problem there. But where there is a problem, new issues arise. So we just have to, resolve the new issues that arrive. That's plain and simple. I'm pro Trump. I'm pro the wall. Build that wall.
Okay, thank you. Kim, do you want to give your opinion?
On what's being said here?
And also your perspective, since you are Mexican, and we're talking about also the wall between Mexico and the United States.
Well, I mean, if they want the wall, then just go ahead and just build it. If these guys really think the wall is going to solve everything and we need to build the wall, same thing when you talk to a contractor and say that I want a wall, I need something, a door here. If they're willing to pay, if the key word, willing to pay for it, then yeah, let them have the wall. It's just that's the problem. The real problem here is that how we're going to get that wall. That's where the problem aligns to. Now, I think Valentine said about Canada, says, well, there's no problem with Canada. Well, here's the difference. Canada is not bordered to any other countries. It's nearby the Arctic Circle. It's nothing but cold there. It's hard for people going through that part versus Mexico, where you have abundance of different countries down below. It's not the same thing. And not to mention, the vast majority of the population is located at the border of Canada and the U.S. They're not up north part of Canada, where you see less dense populous people. And he mentioned the Berlin Wall. Well, there's a wall there. Well, that's very true. But also, the Berlin Wall and right next to a bunch of military bases. So if we're really going to sit here and say we want a wall against Haiti and Dominican Republic, then we also have to include the fact that behind this wall, we need the military involved. If these people really want the wall on any of these countries, including even Nicaragua and Costa Rica, Chile versus Peru, they want a wall between Bolivia and Argentina. They want a wall between Venezuela and Ecuador now. There's a lot of people that want walls, wall mania going on. And if they want that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's for each country. But what I'm trying to tell people, especially in the U.S., is that for the for me personally with the U.S., they don't really necessarily need a wall. They got the biggest military in the entire world. I always said this. Why don't you take these bases that you guys have around the world, take them out, and line them up against the wall next to the border, and anyone crosses, just shoot at them. That's because there's some Americans who are just this desperate, and that's understandable. But I mean, what's really needs to be happening is that, if these people really, really want the wall, then let them have it. But when you got a guy who says Mexico's going to pay for it, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. And when you got this guy going around saying, "Oh yeah, he's going to pay, Mexico's going to pay for it," this guy says, Trump. I mean, there's nothing wrong with what he says, what he wants. I don't care. But look what the guy's saying. He starts saying that, well, Mexico's going to pay for it because we have a new trade deal. Then he says he wants to shut down the border, which nullifies that trade deal. And now, oh yeah, make a new deal with Mexico. And don't worry, they're going to use with this deal. We're going to that's the fund for the wall. And that deal happened back in 2018. I mean, what is that? I mean, there's nothing wrong. You want a wall, but what kind of logic is that? Does that make any sense? And this dude is the president. I suspect that if it was coming from Venezuela or Argentina or Mexico, but this is the U.S. I mean, like, yeah, but I'm done with that.
All right, so I'm going to be giving a brief of the first part. I actually even tried to put together an essay, just putting together all of my ideas and the research I did. So I'm just going to read out loud the first paragraph, which encompasses most of my ideas so that everybody can get a little bit of more context from which I am coming from. So the construction of a wall between Dominican Republic and Haiti is not feasible. Certainly, there is division in opinion among Dominicans when it comes to this topic. There are strong reasons as to why this premise is important, since the livelihood, safety, employment, and development of a nation is at risk. However, Dominican Republic is a third world country that is not financially stable, and other priorities might need to be considered. Education, creation of job opportunities, development and improvement of the poorest provinces exactly on the border between both nations are important aspects to take into account. The national budget might have enough funds for the construction of the wall, but not for the construction of high-quality hospitals, schools, low-income houses, and assistance to our elderly. On the other hand, this year, according to the sources that I have, Haiti confirmed the construction of a wall with the hopes that it will assist the binational and commercial relations between both countries. So the walls have been built for many different purposes. In this case, we want to continue having a good relation with Haiti. The border that we want to build between Dominican Republic, or not us, Haiti wants to build between Dominican Republic and Haiti, has the purpose of continuing the commercial relation that we have with them. However, if a wall is used or is built on our side of the island, then in the places in which this wall is going to be built are not the places through which Haitians are usually coming to cross over to our side of the island. In fact, a lot of people don't know this, but if you visit the international highway, those places cannot be possible to go through for a Haitian to come over from Haiti to Dominican Republic because there is no food, no fruit trees, sorry, and it is just impossible. The distances are extremely long, so it is impossible for Haitians to cross over to Dominican Republic. And the way they actually go to Dominican Republic is by receiving assistance by the military defense of our country. They are the ones who, and not only from our side of the island, but the Haitian side of the island, who are involved with the authorities of both countries. They are the ones who are bringing people over to the other side of the island, which is our side of the island. So this is why, to me, it's not possible to build a wall if it's not going to help to fulfill its purpose. Because aside from that, we have the Artibonito River, which is in between both islands. And if was a wall throughout the entire borderline between both countries, that's still not going to stop the Haitians to come over to our side of the island. They can actually go through our side of the island, through the river, through the Pedernales beaches. And not only that, but at the same time, people are going to take this as an act of invasion from the Haitians. And let's say that that's what's happening. $50 million have been invested in the defense military of Dominican Republic throughout all of these years. And so far, they have not done anything to prevent the Haitians from coming to our side of the island. So what will make Dominicans think that if an act of invasion is caused or is taken by the Haitians by going through the Artibonito River after we have the wall built, what will encourage Dominicans to believe that we're going to be defended and protected by our soldiers if they're not doing anything currently, and they have not done anything for the past 10 years or even longer than that. And not only that, okay, let's say that the military doesn't do anything. Let's say that everybody's going to rise up and is going to fight for the country and is going to try to protect the country. A third world country that already is in financial hardship. Where is that going to lead? It's going to lead to the destruction of the country. And that's what I have. So Valentine's, I give you the chance now if you want to.
I really think, to be honest, I mean, the thing is that it's unprecedented what's going on with immigration worldwide. It's unprecedented. The immigration, the amounts of the numbers that are just, coming into other countries is just record numbers of it. So like a new approach has to be taken with it. Talking realistically, putting the army on the border and shooting at people, I don't think is a good idea for world relations. That would look horrible as a human being, and even worse as a human being. That's like a no. There is, in my opinion, there is really no, because this is the thing where I might be a little bit more realistic. Laws only work for law-abiding citizens. You could write as many laws as you want. You could say as many things as you want. Hey, crossing over from, and we're concentrating here particularly on the Dominican issue, but I mean, it has its parallels with what's going on with the United States. You could write as many laws as you want, but people that are gonna break the laws, they don't care about laws. Plain and simple. It's like they don't care about them. So why would you do them if they don't care? You have to put something physical there. Just because of the sheer number. In the Dominican Republic, I mean, we never talked about a wall in the Dominican Republic. I think the first candidate that's talking about the wall is the grandson of the dictator Trujillo, Ramfis Trujillo. I've seen him talk about this wall. He's the only person I've seen him talk about the wall. But nobody has talked about a wall. As a matter of fact, let me give you guys some stats, right? I looked this up. This is from the USA Today. From World War II, walls have been increasing worldwide. So from the end of World War II, we have 7 walls. At the time the Berlin Wall went down, there were 15 walls. Today, there are 77 walls up all around the world. Why is that? Why is that? Why? Because it's a different immigration scenario worldwide now. And let me give you guys some special ones, right? For example, in Spain, I don't know if you guys know, but in Spain has 2 cities in Africa. I didn't even know this. And there they have 20-foot concrete barriers. The cities are called Melilla and Ceuta. In Morocco. In Saudi Arabia also in 2014, Saudi Arabia built 450-mile long wall with Iraq as a response to the rise of the Islamic State militants sweeping across parts of the country. Imagine if they would have passed laws in Saudi Arabia saying, hey, listen guys, ISIS is coming. We can't, let's pass laws that way they don't come in. Let's pass laws that way they don't come in. ISIS don't care. And the way that these migrants are also doing it. As a matter of fact, and I'm going to end it with this. If the wall was up in between the United States and Mexico, maybe that father coming, I don't know exactly from where, that father and that girl that drowned horribly would have not died if they would have known it's harder to cross into the United States, because that's what they're telling the migrants, some of the coyotes in South America, that if you cross over and you give yourself up to the authorities, you're automatically gonna get your papers and whatnot. And I ended at that. I just see it very simple as a wall. I understand the economic repercussions that need to be taken by a state, but we live in a different time. We need a different solution.
Okay. Thank you, Valentine. Sam, can you go ahead?
Okay, so like well, I will say this to Valentine. I actually agree with you. I don't think shooting someone will be a problem, but there are people out there that will shoot at any time, and there are people that actually advocate for that kind of stuff. That's how insane some of these people have become. Now that being said, which I agree with, that being said, you this is something that I think he's talking about walls, this and that. That's entirely different when you have a guy who's in office telling somebody else to pay for the wall. Can Valentine source out a country where they're asking another country to pay for a wall? Because I did try to look my best up. I think that every country that demanded a wall, they wanted the wall. It went through their political system. They got the wall. They were the ones funding it. But the thing is, here in the different scenarios is in the U.S. they're not doing that. That's the difference. And also the difference is that, remember one thing, you're sharing one island. The problem really is just one nationality, or maybe one or two in the DR. But let's be realistic here. Not many people are fleeing to the Dominican Republic for safety or whatever. But we're in the U.S. This is the problem where Mexico's involved, because since 2000, the number of Mexicans has been dropping. It's been declining. Even before Trump went to office, the first time in the last 2 centuries, more Americans went to Mexico than was Mexicans going to the United States. But then for some odd reason, like, people listen in their head. And the thing is that you can't tell a country to stop a continent of people. That's the difference between what's going on here. Is you can't because I was trying to tell to everyone that each immigration issue is completely different from each other. Each border issue is completely different. Each border wall system is different from each other. It's not all the same. The border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic, it's like realistically small, which is why I kind of agreed for, why not build a wall for it? Because it's feasible. Why not bring a foreign entity to come in and build it for you, to do like a trade or a barter system? I don't know. But with the U.S., we're dealing with one that's like really long. And the thing is it's not just, people seem to have this idea that with Mexico, it's not Mexico, it's the entire continent of people. You have people from, Asian countries, Middle Eastern countries, African countries, all these other countries. And the difference is that Dominican Republic isn't telling somebody to help them deport a group of Haitians. While in this scenario, this is completely different. There's a problem with that. And that's why, like that's the frustration what's going on here, because basically, and I try to point this out to a lot of people, is the following. Yes, you need boundaries. I understand that. You want a border wall. I understand that. That's all reasonable things. But if you're going to pay for it, then go for it. Why not? If the U.S. wants a wall, I'm all for that. I don't care. I mean, I'm all for the wall. But you don't go ask another country to pay for it and then tell people, "Hey, man, don't worry about it. We're gonna pay you. They're gonna pay for it." Well, it's obvious that we're the one, the people who live here in the U.S. are the ones paying for it, because everything is going up. From where your food is, where you buy your food, to you go to Home Depot, to your mechanic and everything, to go to your auto part shops. Like, let's just be realistic here. Like, if there's a problem, yes, there's a huge problem, yeah. But the thing is also, what I try to point out in my content is that the U.S. and their foreign policies, they actually effed up a lot of these countries. Look what they've done to the Middle East. That's why there's an issue to begin with between the Middle East into Europe, because of that. If the U.S. wasn't involved in that, they wouldn't want to. Because you talk to a lot of the Muslims over there, they don't want to be in Europe. But since it's been devastated by all these bombings over there, like, I mean, like, how is that? I mean, like realistically, how are you trying to help people by bombing a land? Now after that, we freed you, but it's like you kids. How can you grow anything after that? Yeah. It's a big mess. It's a big mess. But again, If Valentine wants a wall, then yeah, why not? If Americans want the wall, yeah, why not? But for crying out loud, just be realistic in some of these little scenarios.
Yep. Let me answer real quick.
Sorry to interrupt. I'll give you a chance to speak. I just have to say a couple things. I agree with both of you in a lot of the things that you said. First of all, I don't think that shooting at people will never be a solution to anything. That's inhumane. I have to say that. On the other hand, when it comes to Ramfis Trujillo, I'm trying to be objective, because I don't know if you know this, Valentine's, but the Mirabal sisters are my cousins. And I'm trying not to get personal. I'm trying to remain objective, but at the same time, I cannot help but being affected by what you said. But I understand and respect your point of view, first of all. And second of all, it's not his fault that his grandfather is who he is. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that you may need to consider when you listen to someone like him. I mean, I will be doing a YouTube video at some point. Well, I will objectively say why I don't feel like Ramfis Trujillo is the correct candidate. And it's not based off my feelings because of my family or because of who his grandfather is, but more so with the business and other sketchy things that he has done throughout his life. Not to mention that he was not born in Dominican Republic, and in our constitution, in order for somebody to be the president in our country, they have to be born and raised there or spend 10 years living in Dominican Republic before they can actually become the president. So if we are going to be civilized, if we want a country to follow its rules, we have to abide by what our rules are, by what our constitution dictates. In terms of if a wall was ever considered throughout history of Dominican Republic, I have to say that there has been a lot of treaties, there has been a lot of talking. As much as I hate Trujillo because of what happened to my family, I have to say that he did took some strategies and some means to try to prevent the Haitians to come over to our side of the island during his government. Because what a lot of people don't consider is that the Haitians were crossing over to our side of the island. They were killing Dominicans, committing cannibalism. They were eating children when they were crossing over our side of the island. They were doing a lot of horrible things, taking their land of people, of farmers of our side of the island. And I don't think that is right. And he tried to give more land to the farmers in order for them to try to build their own company, their own way of living. And at the same time, I'm not trying to justify what happened in the massacre of 1937 because it was horrible. I don't think that killing anybody is ever a solution to anything. But there were also Dominicans that were not in agreement with Trujillo that were also killed. They were not in agreement with Trujillo's regime. They were also killed in that massacre, and people don't often talk about that. So that's what I have. You can continue, Valentine.
Cam, just in response to you real quick, I'm not for Donald Trump asking Mexico to pay for the wall. That's really that's asinine. That's ridiculous to its maximum point. I don't even know who would actually believe that Mexico was ever going to pay for a wall. I mean, and that's totally different. The whole Donald Trump issue, that's totally different. I don't believe that. I just like the idea of having a physical barrier if it's needed. If it's needed, I'm all for that. And like you said, you are 100% correct. Mexicans are not the ones that are the majority coming from South America. There are other countries in South America that are coming up. But whoever comes up is still people that are for generally not wanted in the United States, if they come illegally. So like you said, I know you said that that you agree with the fact that we should build the wall if we are able to get the resources. And I think the U.S. and I think countries in general, they're any country that wants a barrier and they have the means, I think they should do it. I mean, for example, the U.S. they waste like $2 billion a year on court proceedings and illegal immigration in general, when a wall is only a one-time payment of $200 million a year. But every year in the United States, they spend $2 billion. And I'm guessing it's the same situation maybe in the Dominican Republic, dealing with all the immigrations and illegal immigration and whatnot. The big amount of waste that there is because of illegal immigration and the illegal immigrants using up public resources in the Dominican Republic instead of those public resources going to Dominicans. So that's another problem. My thing is, if you're not for the wall, for a physical barrier, whatever it is, how are we going to stop people that don't care about laws to come in? How are we going to stop them if there's not a physical barrier? I mean, that's just my simplest question. How are we going to stop that?
Yes, that's reasonable. Ken, do you want to continue?
Okay. Well, I'll be honest with you when I say this about that. The thing is, whether you like it or not, that is part of the scenario here in the U.S. You got a guy that's literally going around saying that Mexico's going to pay for the wall. Now, it's nice for you to clear that out, which is logical. But the thing is, there are people out there who are on YouTube world that actually believes that they're going to literally get Mexico to pay for the wall, which is entirely ridiculously, crazily dumb. These are the same people that go around saying that Mexico wants to bring Iran and Russia in so they can attack the border and all. These are crazy nutcase scenario types of people. And this is not even right-wing conservative. This is some crazy nutcases.
Yeah.
Period. We've gone beyond conservative right-wing. We've gone just conspiracy mode. We've gone to that. I mean, it's just unbearable. Like it's
Alex Jones territory.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
We're entering more of like into the David Icke type of mentality. Just getting, I don't know if you heard of him, but David Icke, but like stuff like that kind of thing. Like he's like, it's those type of scenarios, which by the way, it's fine if you follow that stuff. It's fine. I really don't. That's not my business to follow that.
Me
but
either.
But the thing is that, I stand with you when I say that. If people feel comfortable with having a wall and this makes you feel better at night and you need a wall at the border, that's fine. That's understandable and that's respectable.
Yeah.
And for the kids out, I'm sorry to say this, but and I said this to the DR lady here. These are economical migrants. They're not refugees.
Yes.
That's just the reality of it. They're economical migrants.
Yep.
They're not fleeing. And by the way, that's also includes Venezuela. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, that is an economical tragedy. You're not going through warfare and all that stuff. I'm sorry. You're not, that's not the case for you. But I will say this is something that I think no one talks about, which is problem only one. My problem is that when that was going on, this administration with Mike Pence and all those characters, they're the ones going down South America. And remember, Mike Pence and the Trump administration was going around saying we need a secure border, which is fine. I understand that. But at the same time, they're hypocritical because they went down to South America. They were going around these presidents and around these countries saying, open your borders to help the Venezuelans out. And anyone that disagree with them, you're a communist. I mean, this is just that's the problem why I have right there. If you want the wall, that's fine. But please don't go. But for these people that are U.S. officials, please don't go to another country and start telling them what to do like they did to Paraguay and Brazil. And don't sit there and say, oh, we helped you, Brazil. Thank you for helping bringing the Venezuelans in. Here's $2 million. Well, the damage was $10 million. And and those things that Americans as a whole don't know about. They're not being reported in the United States. They're not telling those storylines.
Okay.
They're not telling you that. Yeah.
All right. So, first of all, I have to say that there are some significant distinctions between, the migrants that come and cross over the border to the United States versus the Haitians that cross over the border to our side of the island. People don't often think about this, but the majority of the people that move to the United States, as you said, Kim, are economical migrants. They come here in sake of a better life. Now, if you belong to an upper class from any Latin American country, you don't have any reason to move here to the United States because you're stable. You have a stable life and that will encourage you to remain in your country. But aside from that, the migrants that cross over, from what I know, and Kim, when it's your turn, you can give more information about this if you know about it. But from what I know, the majority of the migrants that cross over the border between Mexico and the US are people who are, first of all, from all over the world, not just Mexico. A lot of people think that just because you speak Spanish fluently and you happen to be an illegal migrant who is crossing the border, then you are automatically Mexican. When everybody knows that we have different accents, and that's what sets us apart. Anybody can be Mexican, anybody can be Cuban, anybody can be Dominican. There's all kinds of migrants crossing the border. And the only way that people are going to know where these people are coming from is by hearing how they speak Spanish, what accent they are using. And people often just resort to say, oh, no, these are just Mexicans. I saw a video one time about this Cuban who was an illegal migrant who was crossing the border, and he was speaking in Spanish, and the people who did not speak Spanish were regarding him as if he was Mexican. But as a native Spanish speaker and as a Spanish interpreter that I am, and I've been exposed to different accents throughout my life, I can tell the guy is not from Mexico. But not everybody is going to hire a Spanish interpreter or a Spanish linguist who can point out from which country this person is coming from. And in regards to the wall, coming back to what I wrote, because I don't want to leave that out, there are divisions amongst Dominicans in regards to the construction of the walls. Dominican entrepreneurs disagree with the construction of the wall and encourage the public and private sector to invest in the border spaces. Entrepreneurs stated that with the amount invested in the construction of the wall, the creation of thousands of jobs in the border can take place. They also suggest the use of technology to protect the border zone, since it is not protected and major migration and commercial controls needs to happen. In addition, Mr. Juan Vicini, the director of the Quisqueya Binational Economic Council, outlines a pilot plan of $100 million to be invested for the creation of employment in the border that can be done through the public and private alliance to prevent collapse. A wall construction might not be available resource to solve the different issues and might prevent projects that can positively impact Dominican Republic's economy. And also, I want to say that the migrants that cross over the border from Haiti to Dominican Republic is not just the fact that they are economical migrants, but because they are at a primitive stage. They they go to the bathroom in the streets, they bathe themselves in the street. They don't have any level of education whatsoever. And I'm not talking about academic education. I'm talking about education from home, basic principles on how to live in a civilized society. And the migrants that cross over the border from Mexico to the United States are a little bit, from what I know, above that. There might be Haitians also crossing over the border, aside from Central America and other peoples from other countries. But the majority are people who at least are able to behave in a civilized manner. And that's another distinction that people don't often talk about. So go ahead, Valentine.
Real quick, and I'll end with this. To be honest, on the border, I won't have anything else to say. The people in Mexico, they're actually when some of these caravans got to Tijuana, Mexico, the Mexicans waited for them with what was it? Make Mexico Great Again hats in Tijuana, Mexico. The caravan that was coming up. So meaning it causes friction between the people. Not just the government, but the people there. They don't want them. A lot of the Mexicans were saying that the caravan coming up was destroying their towns and that they were, peeing everywhere. And I mean, it's just a humanitarian problem that needs to be taken care of, to be honest. And I'm gonna pass this on to you, Cam. How do you feel about a southern wall in Mexico preventing more of South America to go into Mexico? How are your feelings on that?
Well, first of all, again, it's mostly northern Central Americans, not South American as much. Although the ones from South America that are coming here into Mexico are mostly Venezuelans and some other ones from like Bolivia. I think a little bit from Peru, Ecuador. Just depends. Yeah. But it's a lot. It's people that are south of Mexico coming in. Listen, here's the thing. My problem is when you got Panama and Costa Rica and you see Haitians coming through their borders, and Costa Rica as well. You got Cubans and Haitians and Venezuelans coming through their borders, and they got issues themselves. You just go look it up. There's a big problem over there too. In fact, more of a problem than is the Mexico. But if you look into that, okay, what I don't like is when they get their governments involved and they start saying, "Shit, we don't want you here. Oh, you gotta go to Mexico then." So they actually pushed him upwards and take him to Mexico. Here's the problem now, which by the way, no one talks about. And then you see all this little mess here. And when you got Nicaragua, Costa Rica, you have Costa Rican government saying, "Well, we can't help you here, but I think better off go to Mexico." Which by the way, they're not telling people. There's governments over there saying that, "Listen, we can't keep, but you should go to Mexico because it's right next to the United States." I mean, it's if that's the thing, if they're gonna go with this whole we gotta tax the government, like no, it's not the Mexican government. If we're gonna go with that scenario, we gotta tax all these governments that are doing that. If we're gonna do it that way. And the thing about what you said about like make Mexico great again, all that stuff, I actually covered this. That mayor, I'm sorry, that guy is utter garbage. I'm sorry, that guy's a crook, a fraud, a phony. He's allowed drug cartels passing over like it's no tomorrow, and he sits there acting like he's some conservative. It's a fake. It's a fraud. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a fraud. That guy's a fraud. Sit there and just act like he, with a hat on like that, pretending that he cares. Well, really, you really care so much that you made that city into one of the dangerous part cities in the world. Well, how did that work? Don't tell me it's illegal immigrants. Don't say that to me. And for the other people, as far as the wall is concerned in southern border of the Mexico, if they want that stuff, that's fine. But the problem is like I think this is what I try to tell a lot of people. This is nothing new. It's been going on for decades. And I pointed us to the DR later. This has been going on since like the 90s and 80s. It's just until now all of a sudden people are highlighting it now because it's just, Trump is in office. I told people that it's not just Trump. In fact, what Trump is doing is exactly what Obama did back in 2011 and 12. He's doing the exact same thing. So these people that they should just like really just sit down and just shut up because Obama is basically doing the same thing for Trump. But then at the same time, for these people that talk bad about Obama and everything, well, that's a little bit weird because you talk bad about Obama because he's a liberal, whatever. But at the same time, Trump does the same thing. He's put as a hero, which again, this is like it's just weird. Like this is why, like to me, it's like a freak show. It really is. And when you look and you look at what's going on with the politics down there in Mexico and what's going, like those people people down there, they've been complaining that for years. And not only just that, they also complain about that the U.S. companies are coming in, buying out land, all this and that. not just there in Mexico, but all around Latin America. I mean, that's what they're doing over there. And also before I pass this on, just on the record, okay, if the U really cared about stopping this caravan people, there's a military base in Honduras. There's a military facility in El Salvador. They could have easily stopped it. They didn't want. That's the frustrating part out of all of this. And for those governments, that are like Jimmy Morales and the new guy from El Salvador, and that guy, the Hernandez, and all those people are pro-U.S. allies. All of those guys are pro-U.S. allies. So it's hypocritical. So it's not a left wing or wing. It's just the politics down there is just a mess. And apparently, from what I told this to everybody, is that the U.S. politics is become a freak show, just like the ones down there. And I'm sorry to say.
No, that's okay. And I wanted to say a couple things that I didn't address earlier. It is true that if you don't support, or you're not sure if you can support the construction of a wall, for example, for me as a Dominican lady who is not in disagreement of the building of the wall at all, because I try to analyze things. I try to see whether it's possible or not, whether it's feasible or not, whether it will bring us a solution. It doesn't mean that I am a communist. I'm just analyzing things. I'm just considering things. And I find that when I say, I'm not against building the wall, but let's consider what we can and cannot do. Let's analyze things. Let's do research. Let's have dialogue with people that are actually living down there and experts on the subject, instead of just going by feelings and comparing and assuming that the borders situation between different countries are all the same. There are similarities, but there are also differences, and people don't often consider those differences. And in terms of, all of the USA foreign policies, what happened in Honduras in 2009 with the coup they had over there, nobody talks about that. Nobody understands why so many people are crossing the border in Mexico. And that's another major distinction. Our government in Dominican Republic, is corrupt, is horrible, is everything you want, but we don't have the power or the resources to go and control the governments of other nations. And people often don't take that into account. And with that said, I will cover other things that I research on a different video about this topic. Valentine's or Cam, if you would like to add anything, feel free to do it.
I've said everything I had to say. I thank you so much for having me again. Cam, thank you so much for being part of the discussion also. It's a pleasure.
It was a pleasure having you on my show one more time, and I hope in the future we can continue doing other discussions.
Lovely. Take care, guys.
Take care. Thank you, Cam, for being